On the program, we're talking about some of the trends that the folks at Gallup discovered during the course of 2023, and there's certainly a bunch of them that they note in the report that they issue out every year. And we're focusing on just a handful of them that have to have major economic and investment implications. And so we're going to continue on this part of the conversation here on Dollars and Cents, where we help you make sense out of all of life's decisions involving your dollars. One of Central Florida's longest running radio programs, also a top 25 financial planning podcast. So make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast platform. Any trouble finding us, or if you'd like to request a free copy of our new book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents, just go to our website, Nelson Financial Planning. There you'll see a bunch of icons or a request form to have us mail the book to you at absolutely free of cost. Click on any of those links and you'll get immediately set up to our channels. My name, of course, is Joel Garris. I'm a certified financial planner, certified financial fiduciary at Nelson Financial Planning, where we got a team of great folks who stand ready to help you in the new year get on a better financial track. So one of the next items sort of in these trends that the folks at Gallup noticed during the course of 2023, and this one probably doesn't surprise you, but it is alarming how much the trust in media has evaporated. And certainly that's a longer term trend of our time, sort of that collapse in public confidence in the news. Last year, a record 39% of Americans said they have no trust at all in the media. And I mean, I guess the disturbing part of that is that, you know, I think in today's world with technology and our feeds and those kinds of things, that if you don't have the trust in mainstream media, and the purpose of mainstream media was to sort of present that balanced perspective, and obviously that has gotten skewed mightily over the course of the past few decades, the reality is that if you're relying on your feed, on your phone, for your information, for your news stories and the like, then I think you got to be really careful, because emotions and that can come from kind of feeding into the same porridge, if you will, that's getting delivered to you on your feed on your phone, leads to maybe a more heightened emotional response. It certainly leads to lack of perspective, which is crucial to have in order to achieve investment results over time. So this trend in not trusting media, we think has some investment implications, because it's going to prevent people or cause people to have less perspective than what they might otherwise have had. When you have less perspective, guess what? You have a tendency to kind of make more rash decisions than if you were kind of presented both sides of the equation. So certainly some interesting investment and financial implications that are as a result of that sort of trend, if you will, which has certainly been a longer term trend. The next trend, and this is a trend that we discussed earlier, is the affection for cash, right? The affection for cash when interest rates are high. You know, let's face it, folks, 5% money market rates I haven't seen since like 25 years. So there was like a massive gulf of like 2 decades where they were at zero, or basically zero. So you have to be careful about what you get caught up with, thinking that it's going to continue, because in the case of interest rates, it typically does not, particularly when you go through these periods of where interest rates are high and then they're lowered again. So we talked about that earlier in the program, but obviously that's one of the big trends from last year. Another trend, and I guess this is particularly important here at the beginning of the year, popular New Year's resolution, right? Everybody wants to lose weight or get in shape. And the reality is we don't do a particularly good job as Americans. During the course of the past 4 years, there has been a 6% increase in the percentage of U.S. adults falling into the obese category. Healthy eating habits over that same period have eroded, with the sharpest decline being folks in the younger generation, 30 to 44. So that's got some investment implications, right? Because you hear all of these weight loss drugs that ultimately are generating a tremendous amount of profit for big pharma and pharmaceutical companies. So certainly some interesting investment implications on that trend as we think about the demand or the strain on the healthcare system that comes with that, and what the investment implications are for that. Maybe it's not, maybe your portfolio shouldn't be overly technology based. Maybe you should also have a nice component that is more in the healthcare sector as well. So certainly some things to be thinking about as we go through these trends. The last one sort of goes hand in hand with the headlines out of Harvard, where the president of Harvard was forced to resign. There's been a consistent decline in America's confidence in higher education institutions. The rate of those expressing a great deal of confidence in colleges and universities declined for a third time. The investment implications on that have to deal with educating the next generation. And as they look at the reevaluation of sort of the cost versus the benefit, as they look at student loans and do I really want to accrue an excessive amount of student loans, those are the kinds of things that you need to be thinking about in terms of what the education level or the decisions that folks are going to make. Another thing that strikes me, and maybe you've seen the ad, it's actually a Home Depot ad that talks about the number of athletes or the number of college kids that go pro, and then compares that to the number of trade professionals that are needed in society as a whole. I want to say the ad mentions like 400,000 or something like that. But those are the kinds of things that are going to have some longer term impact, particularly when we think of where these trend lines are going to be. So some interesting stuff, certainly stuff that we will continue to talk about in the weeks, months, and years ahead here on Dollars and Cents. Of course, the beginning of the year, speaking of New Year's resolutions, means that you may have a New Year's resolution to get in better financial shape. We would say that there's one thing that you can do that would help, and that, of course, is reaching out to us through our website, Nelson Financial Planning, and not just scheduling a free conversation, but also requesting an absolutely free copy of our latest book, Next Gen Dollars and Cents. It is packed with ideas and strategies on how to achieve financial success. We've extended the free offer until the end of this month, January 31st, in order to help people get on the right track here in the new year. And then number two, tracking your money. We have a couple of downloadable budgets and net worth statements through the book that really are good tools for you to use to get on track, on top of your income and expenses. Because let's face it, if you're going to improve your financial aspects here in the new year, then you got to start with kind of that budget concept and tracking your money and money in and money out and those kinds of things. Because at the end of the day, there's so many psychological phenomena that sort of work against us to achieve financial success. We were talking about that herd mentality earlier in the show. I also got a full chapter, one of the early chapters in the book, that kind of sets the stage for that psychological impact that can impact how we treat our money and how we value it. As you might well imagine, the top 3 financial New Year's resolutions: save more, pay down debt, spend less. What's the key to achieving any of those? It involves keeping track of your income and your expenses. So beyond that, we wanted to spend some time on the program giving you sort of a few specific tips besides creating a budget and tracking expenses to sort of help you achieve that financial success in 2024. So when we return from the break, we're going to get into sort of 3 tips that we've got beyond just establishing a budget and tracking your expenses. All of that coming up next here on Dollars and Cents with Joel Garris of Nelson Financial Planning.